Welcome to Table for Two, a D&D duet podcast where we take turns playing both dungeon master and player, guiding a single fractured character through a world that kind of unravels with every choice that they make. You're joining us in episode 6. My name is Nick Kennedy. I'm in the Dungeon Master's chair today, and joining me as always is
Jana Harrison, and I am going to be in the player seat today.
We had a bit of a wild ride last time, so you started off playing a lot of the last session as Quinn, and right at the very end, awoke on the floor as Reve. Um, so you might be starting this one off perhaps a little bit confused, but we will do our best to make sure no one else is confused, and we'll do a brief little recap here.
Before we do a recap, though, Nick, I got to interrupt you. We have to take a toast because a little bit in the time machine, we released our first episode last week, so we need to celebrate a little bit.
Let's do it.
So, cheers, congratulations.
Cheers. Congrats. And a big thank you to everyone that showed up to watch episode 1 so far. On YouTube, Spotify, they'll keep coming out. Our schedule's posted on Instagram, and I think a few other places as well, right?
Yeah, we've got social media on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky, so you can follow us on all those platforms. There should be like a little bit, like somewhere in the corner down here, I want to say, is where a lot of our social media tags are. So,
Yeah, but just super thrilled to see, the community show up to support and enjoy and join us on this journey. It's been a lot of fun so far, and we're really excited to show you all what else we have in store. With that in mind, I will catch us up a little bit. Like I mentioned last season, or last episode, wow, I'm getting way ahead of myself. We started off the session as Quinn. Quinn awoke in an unfamiliar area, which turned out to be Marin's apartment, essentially. But had very little memory of arriving there or an understanding of what brought them there in the first place. It took quite a bit of catching up to get Quinn up to speed on what they missed while Reve was in the driver's seat. In the hopes of finding some answers to their condition and also just kind of reporting back in, Quinn and Marin returned to the Rutherford Conservatory to meet with Headmaster Elias Dorn and found him a bit odd. He appeared to have been deep in study. He looked as though he may have not slept at all for days on end. Mind you, it had been about 3 days, Quinn, since you'd last seen Elias Dorn. Your interaction with him was off-putting. He spoke rather cryptically, and he seemed to be reading a rather strange text that almost appeared a tad warped, and you got the impression that he may have been affected by some of this weird energy as well. Quinn and Marin, seeking out more answers, headed back to the Black Loom Tavern, hoping to track down Marcellus Locke. Sorry, his name was failing me there for a second. And may have set some things in motion to reunite with Marcellus. He wasn't there, but Quinn ended up sort of making an associate in the name of Booker Morgan, the owner of the Black Loom Tavern, and asked him to hold on to a message for Marcellus. From there, seeing no other recourse, Quinn and Marin headed out to East Varnes to chase down the rather strange lead they picked up from the Headmaster Dorn, searching for a place called the Hollow Well and the Forgotten Lake beneath it. Upon arrival to this desolate place, Quinn encountered a strange older woman who spoke rather mysteriously and honestly altogether kind of creepy. She introduced herself as Mother Yelva and rather cryptically explained a bit about the process of interacting with the lake, mentioning that it requires secrets in exchange for gifts. Before Quinn and Marin descended down the well, Mother Yelva also made them a separate offer, asking Quinn to give Mother Yelva a secret in exchange for a gift and skip the whole business of the well and the lake. I think Quinn and Marin felt a little off-put by that offer and decided to try their luck down below ground, where they discovered some odd circumstances. A fork in the literal tunnel at the bottom of the well led them to a river that ended in a waterfall flowing backwards, defying gravity up into open air. And as they rode this river up the waterfall, it deposited them into a very still lake. The surface of the water was like glass, and it filled this massive cavern. In its very center, they discovered a grotesque, monstrous creature. What at first appeared to be a massive frog-like creature sat atop of a pile of lily pads proved to be some kind of aberrant horror instead, and it chased them into the water before they could make it to the shore on the other side of the lake. Some quick thinking on Marin and Quinn's part led Quinn to speak to this creature instead of fight it. And in doing so, Quinn revealed a deep secret. Quinn, would you remind us what that secret was?
That Quinn is weak and scared of failure. And I think this is the one that was hardest for Quinn to come to terms with. A little power hungry.
In that revelation, the lake, and in turn its guardian, the Secret Eater, were sated. Secret Eater dissolved into dust, taking with it the lake in itself, this body of water seemingly disappearing in a few heartbeats, revealing at the very bottom of this dry basin a golden mask, the item that they had been sent to search out by the headmaster. As soon as Quinn interacted with this mask, they were overwhelmed with visions. Falling unconscious, seeing images of a crumbling golden throne, the city of Varns flooded and in ruins, mysterious figures in yellow robes. Quinn, or should I say Reve, was awoken lying flat on their back in the bottom of this basin by a panicked Marin and the sounds of rushing water. As suddenly this basin, which had dried out so quickly, immediately began to refill with water. The waterfall that you had ridden into this place began to explode and overwhelm. There's this torrential downpour of flowing water that suddenly starts to just fill this basin, and rushing waters begin to float you up towards the beach. Almost faster than you can even swim. The water, the current, is so strong it begins to just carry you. I am going to need you to make a dexterity saving throw. As these rising waters are bashing you against the walls of the cavern and flowing you out towards the exit, which would be the tunnel you didn't take on your way in.
Dexterity 14.
Okay. Roll 1d6, please.
3.
Okay. You will take 3 points of bludgeoning damage as these rushing waters are just bashing you against the rocks, every single possible object in your way. You're being funneled towards a much smaller tunnel than you're currently in, so it's really hard to avoid a
Mhm.
lot of this dangerous terrain. I'm also going to need you to make an athletics or acrobatics check, please.
Ooh, okay. We're gonna go ahead and say acrobatics, and that's a 19.
Okay. With Marin by your side, the two of you are doing your best to stay afloat. I think you would both realize pretty quickly it is unwise to try to swim against this current and impossible, really, to reach the other side of the lake. So, as it carries you towards the exit, it bashes you into the walls, but you manage to keep your head above the surface of the water. And even as that tunnel starts to fill, it is quickly shooting you back up towards the well. You will find yourselves bashing into the stone lined basin of the well and then being almost violently rocketed up out of it. I need you to make another dexterity saving throw, please.
Oh, nice. Okay. Let's see here. 19.
Okay.
Yes.
Manage to avoid some damage here as you notice the opening, this lit ring of very dim pale light above you, approaching rapidly, and kind of reaching out to the stone walls of the well to slow your ascent against this torrent of water that is trying to geyser you up out of it. It still manages to shoot you up and over the edge of the stone wall of the well, but you just kind of flop onto the wall then and then fall down to the ground on the other side instead of being violently shot straight up into the air. You and Marin come kind of roughly landing on your backs or sides, a little beat up, but intact and alive. And this water just kind of continues to trickle up over. This geyser like stream starts to die down eventually. But there's still this sound of bubbling water behind you. The well is full.
Reve is gonna turn around and look at the well as it's starting to bubble over and look at Marin and what is this? What's going on?
Oh, look in your hand. You'll notice you're still clutching tightly to the yellow mask. We came here for that item. It's been about 24 hours. Let me catch you up. Marin will spend the next 5 to 10 minutes or so recounting the last day, the visit with Headmaster Dorn, the stop at the Black Room Tavern, and the goal of finding the Mask of Yellow to use it in a ritual in the catacombs beneath the haunted gate to break a seal.
Seal. Does anything resonate with Reve when Marin mentions the seal?
Make a history check with advantage, please.
All right. Okay. 25.
So, after listening to Marin, who has recounted the whole conversation you had with the headmaster, you understand kind of conceptually, that Hastur is the elder being that gifted magic to mortals and was bound away in a different plane. You understand the importance of breaking the seals to free Hastur, the shepherd, and return magic to its former glory. All of that you understand at a very basic conscious level. You feel something extra in your mind at the same time, a sort of subconscious understanding. And it's a voice that you've really only heard ever so frequently, and probably only in full sentences when you first opened your eyes, Reve. It is a deep, all-encompassing voice, but it comes from inside you. There are more secrets to reveal. One very important secret. You know it. But you don't recall it yet. You will. When the time is right. And you think you understand what that secret might be, but it's like this itch. There's a scab in your mind that you need to pick at, and look under. But you can't quite get it yet.
Reve is going to ponder for a moment. And internally reply to this voice. You won't lead me astray, will you?
You get no response. But what you do hear, externally, from behind you. So, the lake gave you a taste, eh? And you're still breathing? Curious.
Reeve's gonna whip around and look at the source of the voice. And look over at Marin.
Marin is still sitting in the grass across from you, in the direction of the road that you walked in on, so you are facing away from the well. As you turn and look over your shoulder, sitting on the far low wall of the well, faced away from you, is a pretty familiar hunched over figure. I have a map here, a rough map, but a map that I will share with you and show you. Hope you can see this unveiled patch of plains that run into forest, and in the very center is the well. Mm-hmm. Sat with their back to you is the hunched over form of Mother Yelva. Hood drawn, lantern set to one side. And in her other hand is a walking stick with a small bag just dangling off the top of it, tied up almost like a old school hobo sack or something like that. Mm-hmm. You hear her kind of sniff the air. You did it, didn't you? You gave a secret. A good secret. Did you save Anything of yourself? For old Mother Yelva? Her form begins to grow as she rises up off of the low stone wall and stands to her full height, which is some 8.5 feet tall. A large, hunched figure, overgrown almost, twice the size of the woman she was before you went down the well. Back still towards you.
Reve is gonna glare forward at Mother Yalva. Quinn may run from their monsters, but I run with mine. And
Mother Yelva's going to turn. Go ahead.
I say, and Quinn's gonna start preparing primal savagery.
Perfect. Roll
or
initiative,
Reve is going
please.
to. Okay. Oh. Okay.
To edit this really quick. Bear with me for 1 second to move some characters around. See if that worked. Perfect. Okay. What'd you get?
17? Sorry, 18.
All right.
Plus 1.
18. Marin got a 17.
Nice.
And Mother Yelva got a all in a row, 16.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, what is that? Straight? Full house?
Yeah, a straight, a short straight. So it's going to be your go first. Mother Yelva was standing up and turning to face you from across the well. As she does so, her hood falls and reveals a somewhat grotesque, gnarled face, a deep, pale, mottled, grayish, bluish tone to her skin, curled, gnarly horns growing out of her head, a mess of tangled, wispy black and white hair, seemingly crawling with critters and caked in plant debris and earth. Same can be said for the rest of her clothing as she faces you now. Torn tatters of rags, just muddied, hung and decorated with all sorts of trinkets and bones.
Okay. So Reve had prepared or was readying for primal savagery.
Go ahead.
Reve is going to let out this like guttural kind of primal growl, and their hands are going to start shaping down into claws straight down to their nails, and they're going to leap forward toward Mother Yelva and basically try to like rip at her throat. Okay, and that's going to be a 21 to hit. 16 plus 5? Yeah.
That'll definitely hit.
Okay, cool. And when Reve slashes and kind of like gouges at Mother Yelva's throat, there is this like sickly green like venom coming off of their claws as well. So, and that's going to be 2d10. And that's 14 points of acid damage.
Okay. So you said you were going for throat, that area,
Mm-hmm. Like the
right?
throat
Okay.
here.
Which is a bit of a reach for Reve, but doable still. You just kind of have to like upward angle.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you strike true and starts tearing, and as you do so, you said it was acid on Reeve's
Yeah.
claws. Yeah, just start to melt some of that flesh away at the same time. And Mother Yelva, rather close to you now. I love a meal that fights back. Come closer, dear. Anything else for you, Reeve?
Yeah, and then bonus action, Reeve is going to go ahead and conjure their packed weapon as well. So as the claws start to fade, as they've like come back away from Mother Yelva, um, they hold out their hand and the trident starts forming in their hand as well. And they kind of like ready themselves in like action pose to fuck shit up and get shit done.
Okay. You'll briefly notice that Mother Yelva takes note of your packed weapon as it forms. Looks a little bit caught off guard the moment it appears.
Okay.
That will bring us to Marin, who is going to rather kind of concernedly, I think, rush to the other side, like around the other side of the well to kind of, um, what's the word? Flank Mother Yelva, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Right.
Um, and with some concern in his voice, said to Reeve, "Be careful, stay back. We don't know what she's capable of." And at the same time, Marin is like rummaging through their pockets, looking for different things. You know, Marin is kind of always resorting to some trinket of some sort. You just see them
Hmm.
like searching for something. Um, Comes out with a small earthenware bottle that is like thoroughly covered in wax and tied. Everything is like as closely um, wrapped up, as neatly, as tightly wrapped up as it can be. It looked like that acid worked, so let's try it again. And chucks this container straight at Mother Yelva. Let's see, that's going to be. Oh, okay. Gonna need her to make a dex saving throw. That is a nat 1. So Mother Yelva is going to take some more acid damage. Let's see here. And that'll be. That was loud in my ears. Not a lot, but just a little bit more acid damage as this jar, this container, kind of cracks against her chest, and you notice clothing just begins to kind of dissolve as the acid runs down.
Okay.
That will be. Let's see. I think that's going to be it for Marin for right now. Other than. He'll also pull out his favorite little toy cannon. Their favorite little toy cannon.
Yep.
And you'll see them starting to like look for matches or something to prepare it.
Okay.
That will bring us to Mother Yelva. Let's see here, who is going to punch down a little bit lower and get really, really close to your face.
Okay.
You've got more in there still. I can tell, and I'm going to taste it.
her eyes kind of begin to swirl with what looks like smoke, kind of just clouding her vision. But as that happens in her eyes, you also feel that same kind of cloudiness beginning to wash over you. I need you to make a wisdom saving throw, please.
Wisdom saving throw. 17. Yes.
Okay.
17. Okay.
You feel this clouding build, and it is though it is trying to cover your mind from the inside completely. Something is trying to override your conscious thoughts and show you some other vision. There's this reinforcing voice in your head at that same time. No. They are mine. And the fog begins to retreat from your brain. And you stave off whatever effects you are about to be overcome by. Mother Yelva recoils. What? No, can't be. That'll be it for her turn. That'll bring us back to you.
Okay. Reve is going to go ahead and attack with their trident. And they're going to use green flame blade as well. Okay, that's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 to hit.
Oh, that hits.
Okay. All right, so that's going to be D10 plus 2, and then let me check what green flame. It's 1D8. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 points of damage. 5 of them are flame or fire damage.
Okay. This is like a thrusting attack with the trident, I assume?
Yeah. So Reve is going to, like, again, they're like an action hero pose, right? So they're going to kind of like spin the trident around, and as they put it in their other hand, they're going to take it and like pitchfork up, like, again, shooting for like the throat area, and just kind of like shove it up there.
You catch the main point in the shoulder, and one of the side points does nick the side of her neck. Go ahead.
And Reve is going to quietly like whisper to themselves and saying, I hear you. And I am listening. And then they're going to pull the trident out. And then they're going to use Awakened Mind. And this is going to be a wisdom save for Mother Yelva of 13. Okay.
She got a 9, so that is a fail.
Okay. So going forward then, she's going to have disadvantage on any attack rolls against Reve, and Reve will have advantage on attack rolls against Mother Yelva.
Okay.
And Reve basically starts infiltrating her mind with their magic, and just putting in this sense of weakness and chains on her, that she's so heavy that she can't attack Reve like at the full momentum that she would want.
As this mental assault is going on, and as Mother Yelva has also just been stabbed, she will kind of try to staunch her bleeding a little bit and chokingly say,
What? No. What is this? Who are you?
that'll bring us... That's it for your turn, right?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That will bring us to Marin, who finally finds the, correct contraption to get the little mini cannon working and aims it at Mother Yelva. Let's see here. This is going to be a +6. Okay, 18 to hit, which is going to hit, and there's going to be a loud, thunderous sound as this tiny small cannon emits just this thunderous blast of force. It sounds like an actual cannon just fired right next to your head. Let's see, 6 plus 5, 11. And Mother Yelva takes 11 force damage and gets pushed 5 feet back as this thing goes off directly in her face. Let's see here. I need to adjust her health also. It's 11 damage. Okay. And Marin's just like,
Get away from my friend.
that'll bring us back to Mother Yelva, who is going to just take a few steps further back from you and just slowly start to back away, still clutching at the wound on her neck.
No, there's someone in you. Such a hunger. A hunger stronger than mine.
And at that, she will actually turn and start to run back towards the woods.
Okay.
And then right before she reaches the trees, about 25 feet or so away, he disappears.
Reve is going to turn inward again, speaking to the voice. What will you have me do?
Your job.
She's only seen the edges of the abyss. I've walked through it. And Reve is going to turn to Marin. What's next?
Oh, well, I don't know about you, but I could probably use a rest. Not here, though. I would say we get far away from here. Keep that mask close by.
Yeah. And Reve's going to put it in the bag that Quinn had initially brought along and tuck it away in there so that way they have it someplace safe.
Marin will already be starting to walk back towards the road, but with pretty regular glances over their shoulder back towards the woods. You will sense, though, as you head back towards the road, the two of you are alone here. There's no one else. Mother Yelva has fled. It is nighttime now. The moon has risen, though it is rather cloudy, so the moonlight is spotty at best.
Well, it's a rather long walk to the haunted gate. But I suppose that is our next destination.
Reeve's gonna chuckle a little. I guess I should have told her that the monsters actually run from me, huh? And is gonna continue walking down the road.
Marin will pause for just a moment behind you after you say that and just kind of watch you walk for a few steps before you hear their stride pick up again. Reve won't see it, but there is a brief look of concern on Marin's face.
That was awful, to say the least. That was perhaps the most frightened I've been, well, I'd say in all my life, except we were also just ambushed in my home not too long ago, so I would very much like for us to put an end to all this nonsense.
I wouldn't call it nonsense, Marin. It's so much more.
What do you mean?
You don't hear it, do you?
Yeah. What?
The call, the song, the pool.
No. Do you hear music right now?
It's a figure of speech. Reeve not wanting to dive much further in it, feeling like Marin might be a little out of their depth on this one and may not fully understand this pull that Reve has been feeling inside of them. These seals. Did the headmaster say any specific instruction in regard to what we do when we find this seal?
No, he was not much help in any regards than other setting us on the path. The headmaster made it sound as though we were a bit behind. I got the impression that should we find the seal, we would likely find the cult there as well. It sounded like he wanted you to perhaps join them in their ritual. Or perhaps claim it for your own. I don't really know what outcome the headmaster would prefer. But I do think that there may be an opportunity to learn what is needed to be done at the catacombs.
What do you think Quinn would want?
Quinn would look for the nearest book, I think. What do you want, Reve?
You know, since I came to be me, I've always had this sense of feeling trapped, stuck. Like I needed to escape.
Do you think that breaking these seals might help you escape?
Well, anytime there's a broken chain, there's freedom.
Fair to say.
Marin, you have.
After the two of you walk for
Oh.
some time,
I was gonna say,
if you have more to say, you can.
I was gonna say, Marin, you have history with Quinn. Would you say they're strong?
I think strength comes in many forms. You've never been the most physically imposing, or the fastest, nor the tallest. Tiny muscles.
But Baron will realize he was going on a little negatively there, a little bit longer than they meant to.
Well, you've always excelled in academic pursuits. You have a strong mind. You've always known what you wanted and the way to get it. Your conviction in your studies and in the righteousness of your pursuits has always been Quinn's strength.
How much of me do you think is Quinn? And how much of a Quinn do you think is me?
That, I'm afraid, is a question above my pay grade. I see very little of Quinn in you right now. But just a few hours ago, I saw very little of you in Quinn. So, who's to say?
Reve is gonna kind of give Marin a little bit of a side eye and gently nod. And not so much an understanding, but more of a possible acceptance.
As you carry on your conversation, you will eventually come back to the suburbs of East Farns. The sounds of the city will begin to pick up on the edges of your senses. The nearest wall kind of looms before you with the gate still open, though lit with torches now and visibly guarded. Once you cross over back into the city, you'll note that there is still traffic about on the streets, though it is sparse and minimal. But there are still carriages running, plenty of people grabbing rides, and lots of people still out enjoying the evening air. The clouds seem to darken a touch more. And as the night air kind of cools and chills, there's a bit of fog that rolls through the city as well. Kind of gently blanketing and obscuring the city. The electrical lights running down some of the streets just glow softly off in the distance.
Should we catch a carriage?
That'd probably be in our better interest. You did say you were tired and needed to rest.
I would like to get off my feet for a bit, yes.
All right. And Reve is going to begin to look around to see if they can catch a carriage or if there's one that is coming by that they can hop into.
There is, yes. Where would you like to head? Are we going to the Haunted Gate? Are we going somewhere else?
Marin, you said that Quinn would first look at a book to get more information. Do you think they would have anything in their journals about all of this?
Quinn had been studying the fading of magic for some time. It stands to reason. I mean, the cult did take many of Quinn's journals. That can't have been for nothing.
We do have a few back at your apartment.
Are you inclined to take a page out of Quinn's book?
Literally? Do you think
And
they'd be happy if I ripped a page out of their book?
metaphorically,
Hmm.
I wouldn't suggest ripping it.
Well, I think let's go check the journals. And then I think we should maybe head to the Haunted Gate or see if there's additional information that we can find in these journals that may be helpful. You said the headmaster wasn't particularly helpful, so...
No, and didn't seem particularly all there either. I could use a refresh of my wardrobe and, a bite as well. Perhaps we should reconvene in my humble abode and allow you a little respite to research.
Yes. Yes, and a wardrobe refresh. Reve looking down, realizing that they're in whatever Quinn would have acquired or adjusted to.
Yeah, I believe it was like a frilly shirt that was being stuffed into things to appear less frilly and
Yes.
less pomp. So after 30 minutes to an hour, you arrive back at Marin's apartment above the bar,
Hmm.
where you find the handful of journals that were left behind. Marin immediately steps behind that room divider, and you see bits of clothing flying up in the air as they like dramatically go about changing. And once changed, they then kind of head over to the small little kitchenette area of this basically just grand studio and start rummaging through cabinets and jars of things looking for snack foods of some sort. What is
Uh,
Reeve doing while Marin is settling in?
yeah. So Reve is not particularly accustomed to necessarily studying. So they are going to sit in the middle of the floor and kind of like spread the journals out that they have in front of them and open each one and review like the pages that they feel like they can understand a little bit and just see if there's anything that pops out regarding um, either the yellow mask, anything about Haster, and anything about the haunted gate.
Make a make an Arcana check, please.
Okay. I'm going to use the really big dice this time. So I'm not going to roll on my tray. I'm scared. um, and that is a 16.
Okay. Having flipped through these a little bit briefly before, Reeve was already aware that Quinn's journals are largely research notes. Uh, there's the brief, occasional, like intersparsing of personal detail, but what most people would think should be like a personal diary, for in fact, in Quinn, is more a record of interests, pursuits, and occasional studies. There will be one section of one of these journals in particular that does seem to be marked with some similar looking symbols and notes concerning these symbols. Um, they appear to be drawings like recreated from some other text. They actually reference, Quinn is rather meticulous about um, documenting sources, so they will be labeled as recreations, and the source texts are also referenced so that Quinn could go back to them again in the future if need be. But these recreated drawings depict a crook, a odd-looking circle flanked by masks, and then what looks to be a plain, kind of unadorned face mask with a eerily familiar and hauntingly plain but eerie expression. Quinn will
Look.
have
Oh,
inscribed a small note next to all of these scribbles that just says, found in pre collapse arcane ruins, possibly a proto religious origin? But as you're looking at all of this, the circle appears to be a depiction of some sort of like ritual circle. Um, it almost kind of resembles like a teleportation circle, some sort of magical arcane workings. And then as you look at the mask, you recognize it immediately. You know what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. And Reve is gonna kind of like not getting up, but the bag is like a little bit of a distance away, but they're kind of like a lean over and like launch over. Like when you realize the remote is too far away from you to actually reach and you don't want to get up. Yep. And like pull the bag over and pull out the mask and look at the two.
Nearly identical. The drawing doesn't quite capture the eeriness of how the expression on the mask shifts.
Well, for all of Quinn's talents, clearly art is not one of them. And Reve is going to look and see if there's any other notes in that specific area of the journal regarding more about the religious text, and particularly noting like what the source information is.
There will be a couple of other things that seem to reference perhaps an incantation. The incantation isn't reproduced, but in these notes, drawing found next to incompletely translated incantation, strange syntax of the writing, and then like ritual question mark.
Okay. Marin, I think Quinn might have been onto something here, but there's not more regarding this. Like, do you recognize any of this? And Reve is
Marin
gonna
will
start
come.
to tear the page.
Oh, no, don't rip. It's already. Don't let Quinn see that.
Marin will sit down. I assume you're on the floor or on the couch next to you.
Yeah.
With something pickled in his hand, just kind of gnawing away at it. But we'll lean over and take a closer look.
Oh, wow, that's the mask. You didn't know that was in there?
No. Why would I
I
know Quinn's
don't
notes?
know. Well, Quinn made no mention of it being in there either. I don't know if they recall it. Odd. But no, this makes less sense to me than it would to you, I think.
Do you think Quinn trusts you?
Funny you should ask that. No. Not completely. I mean, don't get me wrong, I trust Quinn implicitly. But Quinn has always kept me at an arm's length. I think Quinn prefers to keep most people at a distance. And if you never really let anyone in, well, can you ever really
trust them. So, no, I would like to think that they should, but I don't think they do.
That's probably why Quinn wouldn't have told you that this was in here.
That finds to be a bit concerning.
It appears to me, though, we may be completing a ritual.
It seems that way.
How are your religious studies?
I practice my own faith semi-regularly. Why do you ask?
Well, looking at this, it looks like there might be 2 masks. So I presume that maybe at least 2 people need to be part of this ritual.
Well, we've only got the one mask, though, haven't we?
Maybe the other one is already there.
Oof. All right. I guess there's only one way to find out.
I suppose so. And Reeve's gonna rip the page out of the book and put it in their pocket.
Marin will just kind of shake their head. You should eat something before we go. We don't know what we're walking into.
Oh, I suppose I should. And does Marin still have whatever that pickled item is in their hand?
Yeah, and brought the jar of stuff over with them.
Okay.
So offers to you.
Reeve's gonna grab the one out of their hand.
I already bit that. All right, well, I guess I'll have another. It's just pickled turnips. They're strong, a little spicy.
These are interesting.
Oh, the heat really wakes you up, doesn't it?
I think I like this.
I have a couple more jars. We can bring some for the road.
And Reeve's gonna grab the jar out of Marin's hand and just...
All right, Reef. We're going to have a conversation about sharing at some point, but we'll save that fight for some other time. Are we preparing to head out? Do we want to stay and take a long rest? What's the plan?
Let's see here. I think for Reeve, they really only need a short rest right now. HP is not too bad, so... And I feel like Reeve... They're on the verge of something and they don't want to give it up quite yet. So probably just like a short rest.
Okay. Sounds good. I mean, all of the time that we've kind of spent in Marin's, we can count as a short rest. So go ahead and give yourself a short rest. It will have been an hour or so, anyways.
Okay.
Well, the gate's not far from here. It's the end of my street. Shall we?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. With that, let us take a short break. All right. Welcome back. We head out from Marin's apartment and head north by northwest, up the main road that Marin's apartment sits above, which ends at the northern wall of the city of Varnes and the Haunted Gate. Large stone wall, ancient stone. This is the first gate built, the first part of the wall built around the city of Varnes. It is a large stone archway, some 2 or 3 stories tall, with giant wooden doors set between the stone. They're almost always open, even at night, but they are guarded. There are 2 constables standing guard with torches, short swords at their sides, small crossbows. But they're standing on the other side of the doors from where you're approaching, facing outwards, watching as weary, late merchants and travelers kind of come into the city, occasionally checking covered carriage or something like that. But for the most part, just keeping an eye out, making sure that the peace is kept. The entrance to the catacombs sits just inside the stone of the arch. There's almost like these carved guard posts into these giant stones, because these are thick, massive, like 10-foot wide stone structures. So, on the right side, from your perspective, is actually a sign labeled as the Old Varnes Catacombs, with an arrow pointing to a stairway inside one of these little guard posts, kind of alcoves in the stone. It is open to the public. It's not frequently traveled, but as a sort of historical site, the ruins are open.
Okay. And it doesn't appear that the entry or openings are being prevented as far as like anyone going in or anything like that. Like no one's preventing that.
No. So at the top of the stairs, just inside this little alcove, is an opening. No door. Just a stone spiral staircase that leads down into the earth. There is nothing preventing you from walking down there.
Okay. Reve is just gonna go ahead and like look over their shoulder and confirm with Marin, like, this is the place we need to go, and start like walking down that way.
Marin gives a brief nod of their head and follows behind you.
Well, it's been ages since I've come down here. I think my parents showed me these catacombs once.
And you'll wind down these stone steps deep into the earth, some 60 plus feet at least, and come to a set of double doors, which is closed currently, but not locked.
Okay.
And again, just like the gate, up on the surface. These are just wooden doors set in between a small stone archway.
Okay. Um, Reve is gonna go ahead and just see if they can open the door without any interference and peek their head inside.
There's a bit of a squeak from the hinges, but the door opens just fine. As it does, you see yourself looking at a dim, the map should be available for you now, looking at a dim, small space that just smells of dampness, old water, musty air. You enter a room that's some 50, 60 feet long, only about 20 feet wide or so. In the very center is an inky black, still reflecting pool. A small lip raised around it to prevent anybody from just walking straight into the water. But largely just this kind of big, open, empty space. There are some carvings in the stone walls here and some faded, very faded painted murals that seem to depict some hand, like a being, offering a spark to. This is like one of the oldest carvings. This hand kind of coming down from the heavens, offering this spark to a bunch of like little stick figures carved into the stone.
Does Reve recognize this?
It feels familiar, um, at least conceptually.
Mm-hmm.
As you look around, you'll notice there are a couple other these kind of faded old painted murals on the walls that seem to depict some kind of hooded, robed shepherd with its face kind of always obscured. That also feels a little familiar. As you like look closely, you feel like you hear whispers on the edge of your consciousness, but coming from different directions all around you.
Marin, do you hear that?
Hear what?
The whispers, the callings.
I don't hear anything.
Do you recognize any of these paintings, murals?
Well, yeah, I've seen these before. This is really the only portion of the catacombs that are open. So I've been down here with my parents. I never really knew what to make of any of these.
And Reeve's gonna look a little more at the murals and the paintings and try to focus in on the whispers, see if they can hear anything that is coherent.
Make a perception check.
Um, 16.
The whispers kind of ebb and flow almost like a tide, and they overlap one another, just like waves crashing on a shore, which makes them very hard to discern. But as you are kind of observing them as behaving like water, you think you hear the words, the water.
And Reeve's gonna look at the center of the room where the water is and look into that pool.
It's a very shallow pool. You can see the bottom. It's only about a foot down. But more interestingly, you see your reflection. What should be your reflection, but is not your face reflected in the surface of the water. What you see is the yellow mask looking back out at you.
Reeve is gonna back away from the edge of the pool for a moment. And they're gonna start looking inward. Is this what I meant to see?
Go deeper. While you are having an introspective moment, Marin has kind of kept observing the murals, looking at the scratches, just kind of wandering through the room. They will have come to the far side of the room. You've noticed there are doors leading in a few various directions of this room, but at the far side is another stone archway with a set of double doors. Marin is near that now when they realize aloud, wait a minute, this is unchained. This portion of the catacombs was always closed off, but this door is ajar.
And Reeve's gonna be pulled out. It's open?
There's a chain with a padlock. The padlock is broken open and the chain sits on the floor next to the door. The door is slightly cracked open.
All right, and Reeve is going to go ahead and move forward as well. And they're going to, as quietly as possible, push open the door a little bit more and see if they can hear or see anything when they kind of peek through.
You see stairs heading deeper down into the earth. You hear chanting, rhythmic, multiple voices in unison. You hear what sounds like splashing.
Reeve is going to go inward again. You're pulling me into the deep end, aren't you? And they're going to start quietly making their way down the stairs.
Marin's going to follow behind you. As you make your way down the stairs, the chanting gets louder and louder. See, let me find my notes. Sorry, just a second. So at the bottom of the stairs is another doorway.
Mhm.
Doors are open. Are you heading all the way to the bottom?
Yeah, they're gonna head. Well, Reve there is going to head down to the bottom of the stairs, but they're going to kind of hang back like just a little bit, like behind like the arch, um,
Okay.
just more to evaluate the room and kind of gauge to see what else they can see and what's happening in the room.
Okay. The chanting gets louder and louder the deeper you go. You hear, like I said, multiple voices. They are speaking in multiple languages also.
Okay.
Excuse me. Some are unrecognizable. One or two are in common.
Hmm.
As you are able to kind of peek under the arch through the doors out into the next room, you realize it is rather large, significantly larger than the rest of the catacombs so far. Same ancient stone, though this place seems somehow even older and kind of more decrepit. There's cracks in the walls, there's cracks in the stone archway, and you can even see large fissures extending through parts of the floor. As you kind of follow the line of one of those fissures and kind of look out towards the horizon of the room, you see a sort of sunken circular area in the center of the room, ringed with mirrors and candles. And then there are alcoves set into the walls of the room that all hold statues wearing masks with different expressions. In that sunken recess in the floor is a couple of inches of water. But you can also see glowing glyphs and golden fissures that seem to pulse in glowing light running beneath the surface of the water. This ring is lined with hooded figures chanting. In a corner behind them is another hooded figure, this one in black robes, while the others are in golden. Standing behind a kind of long, large table, reading aloud from a book, while the others again carry on their chanting. In the center of the circle, suspended from golden threads, seemingly out of nowhere, is another kind of grotesque looking figure. A figure that looks vaguely familiar to you as well, Reve, although you've only maybe seen them in Quinn's memories. But they feel familiar when you see them. It is a humanoid creature with, like I said, golden threads kind of coming out of its back and twined around it, suspending it in the air above the seal. It is largely unclothed, dripping with water and black ink. One noticeable feature, besides its kind of saggy appearance, wispy white hair that flows down from the top of its head. The figure in the far corner is leading the chanting and begins to recite loudly a verse of some sort.
In the name of the shepherd who was and shall be, we pour forth our silence unto thee.
The chanting pauses for a second. And then he carries into the next verse. And the chanting resumes. What is Reve doing?
Reve is going to look over at Marin to see what Marin's reaction is.
Marin is like visibly in a cold sweat.
Quinn's gonna, or Reve is gonna turn inward again. And seeking more if they can actually tap into Quinn. And see if they can pull from any of Quinn's memories or thoughts.
Make a history check.
Um, 17.
Okay. I will also need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. 19.
Okay. As you look inwards, you find that guiding thread, the thing that has kind of pulled you in directions previously, coils inwards and acts more as a conduit inside yourself. And instead of pulling you into a direction, it connects you momentarily across personas into Quinn's memories. You recognize Alaric Cade hanging above this ritual circle. And in the briefest flash, things begin to click together. Those inscriptions that had been copied in Quinn's journal were depicting a ritual circle much like this one, and the mask and mention of an incantation that needed to be performed. You get the sense to control this ritual, you will need to step into the circle, speak the incantation that the high priest is currently speaking, I believe, and don the mask. As you feel that thread begin to slip away and your mind disconnecting from itself, you'll also hear your patron's voice say, "This is where you offer the secret yet to be revealed."
Reve is feeling a moment of clarity. And they take the mask and begin to walk forward into the circle.
Okay. As soon as you walk through the archway, the gathered cultists immediately take notice of you and kind of begin to react. You said you were holding the mask?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The couple of nearest two of kind of the nearest cultists will turn and see you holding the mask and fall to their knees in front of you. A couple of the others begin to whisper kind of amongst themselves, but a little bit in panic and out loud. The mask, it walks. The one from behind the veil? And you're just catching little snippets of their panicked ramblings. Most of these gathered figures all seem to have a visible reaction, and many of them seem to start to panic. Some seem fine with your appearance, your presence. Most are concerned, disconcerted at the very least. The high priest in the corner pauses his incantation. Do not be fooled. The mask walks, but the will is not with him. We have our vessel, and we pour our devotion into him, not this creature. Keep him out of the circle. He seems visibly agitated, but as you move closer to the circle, most of the cultists don't approach you. They look very hesitant. Some, like I had mentioned, are already bowing in your direction even.
Reve is then going to take the mask and place it on their face. And they're going to very poignantly look at the high priest. Something stirs beyond the veil. Are you not listening? And continue to walk forward toward the circle.
I would like you to make a charisma check. It can be either persuasion or intimidation. And do so with advantage, please.
Okay. It's gonna be a 16, and I'm gonna do it with intimidation.
Okay. The priest in black, who was preparing to perhaps draw a weapon or prepare a spell, just lets their hand fall to the side for a moment. I thought I was tasked with finding the vessel. But you hear the voice from beyond the veil. The dreamer speaks to you. You must read this and picks up the book, comes out from behind the table. All of you kneel. The rest of the cultists obediently in the positions that they were already in around the circle kneel down and begin to bow their heads in your direction as you approach the circle. The priest comes close and gives you this ancient book, already opened to a page. The scrawlings on the paper are incomprehensible.
Reve is going to cast Comprehend Languages to see if they can understand it.
Okay. You can. This is deep speech, which is not really a text-based language. So this is a odd interpretation of essentially psychic impressions, aberrant psychic impressions translated into runic scribbles, lots of spirals and swirls, contorted like cuneiform, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But it becomes legible. It is a 3 or 4 stanza incantation with instructions. The participant must stay inside the circle for the duration of the ritual. These words must be invoked. The mask must be donned. A truth must be given. And a name must be forgotten. Do you carry on into the circle?
Yeah. Reve is going to go ahead and push forward.
You step into the circle, which is not a very large space, so you find yourself essentially standing beneath Alaric, suspended a few feet above you. As you get a new perspective on this space, you notice the mirrors are lining this circle, all facing inward. Mostly all appear cracked. Bits of glass on the floor at their bottoms. And as you enter this pulsing energy field, it feels off, wrong. The ritual, as it was being performed, was incomplete or tainted. As you look into your reflection in the mirror, you again see faces you don't recognize. In one mirror, one side of a crack, you see Reve. On the other, you see Quinn. In another mirror, there's just the golden mask with different expressions. As you look at the greater room around the circle, you notice the statues in the alcoves. Their masked faces have all turned to face you. What do you do?
Reve is going to start reciting the incantation.
Okay. Check our chat in Discord.
Okay.
So the text that you're reading displays this incantation, and it points out a point in the incantation at which you must offer your secret before you complete the incantation. So the lines that I've sent you are the first part.
Okay. And Reve is going to whisper their truth.
You have to read the incantation first.
Okay. So, in the name of the shepherd who was and shall be, we pour forth our silence onto thee. Let the water remember, let the veil forget, let the name sink beneath the threads and be swallowed in the weave. We anoint this vessel in ink and water. We offer the memory of truth, stripped of the meaning. What is lost shall not be mourned. What is hidden shall not be spoken. What is dreamed shall wear the mask.
As you pause in the incantation to seek out the truth that must be revealed, it comes to you in your voice and in your patron's voice. You feel this realization at the same time as you say the words aloud. And in your mind, you hear your patron's voice saying it the same time as yours? Or maybe it's just a hair before you. Go ahead and read the truth.
This isn't the first seal I've broken.
As you complete that, you hear the sounds of ripping threads from above. You notice the golden restraints suspending Alaric in the air above you have begun to snap and tear. And suddenly his form swings down towards the ground and splashes into the water in front of you. As he turns, his face is an inky mess. His eyes lock directly onto you, but they are blank, black. I'd like you to roll initiative, please.
Nine.
Okay, give me just a moment here. Let's pull up. You said 9?
Yeah.
Marin did worse somehow and got only a 6. Okay. As this drowned-looking form of Alaric stands tall in front of you, its blank eyes face you, and it opens its mouth and begins to speak. When it does, they are fragmented words in common, coming out in reverse. I need you to make a charisma saving throw.
Well, 22.
Okay, you make your save as these voices begin to, the voice coming from Alaric begins to amplify and grow in volume. It is the phrase you just uttered in reverse in this broken, fractured common, and you feel the meaning more than you actually hear or understand the words. You make your save. Everyone around you takes 3d8 psychic damage as they all fail.
Ooh. What?
2 of the cultists fall to the floor, clutching their heads, and stop moving. The remaining ones begin to shriek out loud. The high priest falls to one knee and with his hand to his head.
Do not enter the circle, but we must get that creature out now.
That'll bring us to Marin's turn. Oh, sorry, Reeve's turn.
Okay. All right, so Reve is... Because the creature's like directly in front of Reve, right?
Face to face.
Face to face? Okay. Okay, so Reve is going to go ahead and put their hand directly in front of the creature's face, and they're going to Eldritch blast them in the face.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. Okay. All right, so that is an 18 to hit. And that's beam 1 because it's 2 beams.
Okay, that will hit.
And the next one is a 15 to hit.
Will also hit.
Okay. And as Reve blasts this creature in the face, Reve is going to say, "We're not so different, you and I. But did you choose this, or were you chosen?" And that is going to be an 11 points of damage. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 points of damage. Okay.
And that is for one or for both?
For total.
Okay, 15 damage.
Yeah, 15 points of damage total. The first beam is 8 points of damage. The second beam is 7 points of damage.
Okay. You can't miss at this range. You blast it in the face, and you notice bits of that inky like water that is dripping down him just seems to fly off, and then immediately you see it kind of begin to creep back in across the color of his skin.
Okay. And then bonus action, Reve is conjuring their packed weapon.
Okay.
And
Uh,
that's it. Yeah, that's all Reve is
Okay.
going to do.
that will bring us to Marin, who is, let's see. Marin's going to pull a small little metal rod, only about 3 inches long, with what looks to be like a little point on the end. Not particularly sharp or pointy, but reminiscent of like a lightning rod or something like that. So just a little bit of metal. And use that contraption to cast Scorching Ray. It's going to create, let's see, they're going to make, this is second level. Yeah, so they're going to create 3 rays and target them all at Alaric. That is going to be, okay, 16, 25, and 25. All 3 will hit. Each ray is 2d6. Let's do this. (21). 21 damage as what looks to be this electrical fire rays just lancing out from this tiny contraption in the direction of Alaric. And they all make contact, and briefly his white hair becomes frizzy as it's like shocked off of his head momentarily. And again, you see that blackish ink begin to kind of pour off and then reestablish itself across the surface of his skin.
Okay.
That will bring us to the cultists and the priest. The priest is going to, let's see here. Didn't do what I wanted to. The priest is going to cast Ray of Enfeeblement. Make a Constitution saving throw. Which it fails. 1d8 from its damage rolls. Okay. You notice some of that black ink disappears from the skin of the arm of Alaric. The remaining cultists they've ceased chanting, they'll cease screaming. They can't really do much, though, so they just kind of wait on the edge of the circle, trying to reach out towards Alaric to pull him, but no one can reach just yet. That'll bring us back to Alaric. Who, with this how do I describe this? Bloated, distended hand, reach out to like smack Reve. And you notice the ink begins to kind of reassert itself across its skin. It almost seems as though it reaches out off of its skin as it lashes out at you. This is a nat 20.
Okay.
It is going to have minus 1d8 from its damage. So this is 2d6 plus 3 minus 1d8. 6 minus 6 minus 6. As this inky, bloated mess connects with you, you feel it almost like just wash over you. It's like you're hit by a breeze or a soft stream of water. All the strength has gone out of Alaric. It is your turn.
Okay. Okay. So Reve is gonna use their Okay, so I guess my question, how strict are we being with order of operations? Because I do want to go ahead and use Awaken Mind, but it is bonus action.
Go for it.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. So I'm going to go ahead and use Awaken Mind first.
Okay.
So this is going to create a connection between me and Alaric. Wisdom saving throw of 13.
Okay.
And then if Alaric fails, they'll have disadvantage on me on future attacks, and I get advantage on them.
They did fail.
Cool. So now that they failed, I'm going to go ahead and roll with advantage to go ahead and attack Alaric with the trident and using the green flame blade on top of it.
Okay.
All right, and that's going to be 18 to hit.
Which hits?
Okay. So D10 and a D8. Okay. All right, so that's 8 points of piercing damage and 5 points of fire damage.
Piercing 5 of fire. Okay. Okay. Looking worse for the wear at this point. You notice as you do damage, as you stab into the flesh of this creature, it doesn't bleed. Not blood, anyways. More of that inky black ichor seems to seep out of the wounds.
Okay.
And they don't respond to the pain in any way.
Okay.
You'll notice the response you do get is from the ritual circle at your feet, which seems to pulse with that golden light erratically. Anything else for you?
No, that'll be it for Reve. Yeah, because they're not going to move, so.
From the side of the circle, kind of just over your shoulder, Marin says, Reve,
Spread your feet a bit. I can't enter the circle, but this should help you.
And you see Marin toss his little tiny cannon toy onto the floor at your feet. And it kind of turns and rights itself and elevates its cannon up towards Alaric. And then that familiar loud cannon sound echoes through this entire chamber. Let's see. It's going to be that will hit. So Alaric is going to take 2d8 force damage. Is 8 and 1, 9 force damage, and then get pushed 5 feet away from you. So move them over. At this point, the cultists on that side of the circle will reach across. They don't step into the sunken ritual circle, but they reach out and grab Alaric and start to pull him towards the edge. He stumbles kind of backwards into their grasp. More of them move over to surround him as they drag him off to the side and out of the circle. And you could hear from just beyond the circle the sounds of stabbing. And you just see flurries of motion. But that golden light at your feet seems to stabilize a little bit. It glows brightly. It almost kind of blocks out what's happening in the shadows beyond it. And you're left just looking at your reflection in the mirrors. And that mirror that was cracked that previously showed Reve and Quinn, you now just see Reve in the mask. We'll bring us back to your turn, and we're going to exit initiative.
Okay. As Reed is looking in the mirror, they're going to quietly whisper, "They may only see the fractures, but now I can see the whole."
The last bit of the incantation remains on the page before you.
He comes not to conquer, but to claim. He comes not to treat, but to inspire. He comes not to remake, but to reveal. Unbind the seal. We wear his will.
You hear a great tearing sound come from everywhere. I need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, gosh. Dirty 20.
All right. With that, the light begins to glow so brightly and violently that it begins to blind you and everyone in the room. And as that tearing sound increases, that ripping, you hear and feel suddenly a violent crack in the stone at your feet. The water begins to pour through it, and the light suddenly dims. In that flash of light, you get a brief image in your mind of a location in the city. Large church, like a basilica. painted gold and illuminated, torches and candles. You see a vision from inside the church, rows of pews, silent worshippers. As the darkness returns to the room, you hear a voice. Not your patron. And not just to you. This is audible in the whole room. When you've forgotten enough of yourself, he will wear what remains. And then silence returns to the chamber. The last of the water trickles through the cracked floor, the stones now uneven at your feet. The commotion on the far side of the circle has stopped, and you just hear the heavy breathing coming from the labored cultists. You feel hands on your shoulders lifting you up off your knees to your feet. You hadn't even realized you'd fallen. And there's a familiar face lifting you and checking you for wounds. Marin stands at your side. But as they look at you, they pause. They attempt to say something. When they speak, the first word, nothing comes out. But the rest of the sentence, "Are you all right?"
What am I becoming?
Well, and you see their mouth move again, but no sound. I don't know. But it looks like you were successful. Few of the cultists approach from closer, the high priest included. And they look at you quizzically. Who are you? What are you doing here? Few of the other voices. Who is that person? What happened? What happened to our ritual? Marin starts to pull you towards the other side of the circle, away from them, as they slowly approach, but they approach cautiously, but they seem on edge and inquisitorial. And they almost start to look like they're going to become accusatorial pretty soon. I think we should go.
And
Did you hear me? We've got to go.
they're going to look up at Marin. I don't know who I am.
We're going to end there for the evening. Sorry, I had to do it to you. Okay. We will unpack that a little bit more when we take a peek behind the veil. Thank you all for joining us for episode 6. That was a doozy. We got a lot to talk about. So stay tuned to YouTube, Spotify. Come back every other week. We'll have some behind the veils, and there will be more sessions soon to come. But thank you all for joining us on this journey. I've been your DM tonight, Nick Kennedy, and with me, as always,
I think Jana Harrison.
yeah, you still remember that name, thankfully. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.